4.2% of Americans are unemployed. That's 7.2 million people. But what you might not know, what's really staggering, is the unemployment rate for kids 16 to 24. Guess. Got it? It's actually higher than that. It's 10.5%. Over 10% of our young people are unemployed. Guys, these are our kids. These are our family. This is the future of this country, and they cannot find jobs. We have to cover it. And today we're going to cover why this is happening, what the barriers are, and we're going to talk about some specific steps that young people can take to actually get back into the workforce, to continue to be a major part of the workforce. And by the way, one of the ideas that's been floated out there is a 50-year mortgage, because young people aren't buying homes right now. And we're going to talk about that too, so hold that thought. In the meantime, if you're new here, smash subscribe. I'm bringing you a fresh video 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. On Sunday I rest, but 6 days a week you're going to get a fresh video about what's happening in the workforce, how AI is impacting the workplace, how you can get a competitive edge and stay relevant, respected, and financially free. Because as men who have families, who have kids, who have responsibilities, you don't want to be on Snap, boys. You don't want to be on UBI. You want to remain relevant, respected, and financially free. Now's the time to hit subscribe. In the meantime, let's get into the video, okay? We're going to talk about young people. 16 to 24-year-olds, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, cannot find jobs. Over 10% are unemployed. And what you also may not realize is that college graduate unemployment is nearly 50% higher than the average. So if we look at the average American is unemployed, 4.2%, the average college graduate is not finding a job either. Their unemployment is at 5.8%. And guess what? About 40% of the graduates that do have jobs don't even need a degree for the job they're in. So imagine you go to school for, I don't know, business management, and you end up getting a job in retail. That's what we're talking about. Kids are going to school, getting these careers, getting these degrees, and either they're not finding a job afterward, or they have to settle for a job they don't want. Is that right? That's not right. That's not the promise that they were given. The promise was, come to school, get an education, your life will be better for it. But instead, that is not what's happening. What's happening is these young people are leaving school with degrees that aren't helping them get jobs. They're learning skills that were relevant maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but aren't going to be relevant over the next 2 to 3 years. Like, we've got to wake up. Plus, they're taking out debt, okay? Right now, get this, there are 42.5 million borrowers, over 42 million young people with student loans. The average student loan is over $28,000 with about a 7 to 9% interest rate. Now, most of the loans that they take out are supposed to be paid off in 10 years, but the average borrower is paying it off in about 20. So you're told, go to school, get a degree, you'll get a better job. The American dream is there, but it's been shut off. It's been shut down. It's not happening. I mean, that doesn't even get into the car loans that they'll need, credit cards, a mortgage, which we're going to talk about in a second. This is a big problem. It really is. It's really upsetting to me. You know, I'm 42, and you know, this path of going to college was open. Granted, what I do now, the work I do now, you don't need a college degree to do this. I built my own thing. And we'll talk about that here in a moment as well. But these problems with young people are not just localized to the promise of college, but they're also being ripped apart by inflation, okay? And we're gonna talk about a few of the other things that are happening too, but inflation is one of them. So in June of 2022, inflation was nearly 9%. You might remember that thing called COVID-19 where the entire world got shut down. Nobody was going to work, and we pumped trillions of dollars into the economy. That was pretty bad, objectively. And inflation rose to about 9%. Now in September, it's cooled off a bit. We're at 3%. I mean, it's kind of spiking up a bit. It was down to about 2% for a little while. Now it's kind of going up. So we'll see what happens with inflation. Regardless, inflation's a killer. And inflation is a tax on your dollar. You know, this is, by the way, I talked about Bitcoin yesterday. You should watch yesterday's video. We're talking about Bitcoin. You don't necessarily need to invest in Bitcoin, but you need to invest in something, because hiding your cash under your mattress is killing you. Your money is not working for you. Got to make your money work for you guys. So September, we're at that. Now, wage increases. Now, wage increases are up a bit. We're at 3.9% increase in wages from this time last year. I think something that you need to ask yourself, assuming that you have a job, is how much am I getting paid? Did I get a raise from last year? Am I still charging my clients the same amount now that I was last year? You gotta respect yourself, boys. I mean, it starts with you. I mean, you can't just, your wages need to increase too. And I know it's scary. What if I lose my job? Or what if I lose a client? But the reality is that inflation is up, cost of everything is up. You should be charging more for whatever your service is. Respect yourself. At least that's where I'm at. And you know, when one door closes, another door opens. You know, I had a time last year where I lost a key client and I was pretty upset about it, wasn't happy about it. But what I recognized after I lost him is that I was actually making more money because I was spending so much money to serve him. I was spending so much of my time to serve him. And by losing that client, it freed up my time to focus on other things that filled my cup. And quite frankly, you know, we'll see what happens in the future, but stuff is gonna move. I've said this time and time again on the channel. Smash like, put in the comments if you agree with this. We will need to reinvent ourselves every 2 years for the rest of our lives. The problems that we're solving today are not the problems we're gonna be solving tomorrow. I know I say this over and over and over and over again because I think it's really, really important that people hear this. You need to understand that the world is changing, okay? Important. Okay, so we talked about inflation. Inflation is killing their wages. Offshoring is a problem. And I know you guys like to talk about offshoring, but it is an issue. You are not just competing with your neighbors in your area, you're competing against people all over the world, especially if you're in a remote job, which a lot of people are. Ton of people, I love remote work. It's great. Although I do miss being in office, I do miss seeing people, things get done faster and more smoothly. But if you are working remotely, you're not just competing against your neighbors, you're competing against the entire globe. And statistically, there's about 300,000 jobs offshored every year, and about 68% of companies are offshoring. It's a huge part. I gotta say, every organization that I work with is offshoring some of the roles. And maybe it's not a W-2 employee, but it's a 1099 WE. I'm 1099ing someone from the Philippines or Fiverr. We live in a global workspace, guys. So all these young kids getting out of college, you know, you get out of college with a social media marketing degree, you're competing against a lot of people. You're not just competing against your fellow graduates at Tulane or whatever. You're competing against the entire world. And quite frankly, those people that didn't go to college might even have more experience than you. We got to talk about that first step of the economic ladder as well, because this is, I think, where things get really hairy. Artificial intelligence is just completely transforming the way that we work and that we operate, and it is not going to stop. And I know that there's a lot of dissension about this fact, and I think it's more political than not. But my thesis, my belief, is that AI is going to dismantle and disrupt tens of millions of jobs, and it's going to happen very quickly. Okay. And quite frankly, it is already happening, but it's just at a smaller scale. My belief is that the scope and the speed is going to increase. Again, I've talked about this before. I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but let's say, for example, that on a federal basis, we come up with a standard legal way for self-driving cars to operate on the roads. The technology's there, the safety data is there, and then federally it becomes legal in every state. You are going to see taxi cabs, Ubers, delivery, it's all going to be automated. That could happen within the course of just a few weeks. I would say there's about 8 million people that operate a car for a living. It's a lot of jobs overnight to be lost. But that's just one example. What I'm trying to say here, which you probably picked up on, is that AI is changing a lot of job places. And what we are seeing from organizations is that they are laying off bloat. They are investing anywhere from millions to tens of billions of dollars into AI infrastructure so that they can automate tasks. I recorded a video about this a few weeks ago. I'll put a link to it here. Salesforce laid off 45% of their customer service staff. And Benioff said, we're going to automate this. We're going to use AI. Recorded a video on this. He explicitly said they're going to use AI to handle customer service. I recorded a video a little while ago. I was talking to a friend of mine. I'll post a link to it here. And he's a regional manager for a large auto mechanic company. And they're using AI to send out proposals automatically, to write up proposals, to source parts, OEM versus et cetera. They're using AI, an AI call bot so that when you call them after hours, the AI will take your call, try to address your complaint, try to go through FAQs, and then it will schedule a meeting. And he said that it schedules 15% of their meetings as call bot. There's more examples. Click the link to check it out. But what we're trying to say, what I'm trying to highlight here is that AI is already taking up jobs that used to be done by human beings. Now, AI is very book smart, but is not street smart. And that is the problem for young graduates, is because you're coming out with a degree, you know how to take tests, you know the definitions, you're book smart, but you don't have street smarts. You don't have street smarts. And that is where companies are saying, we can invest money in training staff and training people and bringing up the next wave, or we can spend that money investing in our AI systems, which in the long run will be more cost effective. And you're free to disagree with me. I see a lot of smart comments. If you have a really good smart comment, put in the comments below. I'll pin you if it's really good. But regardless, what most companies are doing is saying it's better, let's cut off the bottom rung of the career ladder. Let's stop hiring young kids and let's invest in AI, okay? That is a problem that is happening, okay? Now, what can we do? What are the potential solutions? How do we make sure that the next generation is able to come up and have a great life in order to thrive in this new age? Which I think is important, guys. We need to lay the foundation for the next generation to come through. These are our kids, these are our grandkids. So how do we do it? Well, one of the things that's been proposed, and I just want to talk about real briefly, is a 50-year mortgage. And this has gone pretty viral. This is something the Trump administration is looking at doing. Well, how does it work? Well, a 50-year mortgage is an amortized loan. I'll talk about that in a moment. But it works basically the same as a 30-year note. A 30-year mortgage is just 50 years. So it extends the loan to 600 payments. Now, this is amortized. What does amortized mean? It means that your very first payment on your loan is almost 100% interest. And your last payment on the loan is almost 100% principal. Principal being the amount of the loan, the interest being what you're paying on the to borrow the money, right? So the way an amortized loan works is that you're front loading all of your interest. So what can happen to people is if you're just paying off your minimum amount on your loan for the first 5 years, and then you look at how much you still owe, you're like, oh, I haven't even touched the amount of the loan. I'm still paying, I still haven't even touched the amount of the loan. All I've been doing is paying interest. Well, that's because with an amortized loan, every time you make a payment, you need to pay not just what is due, but you need to pay extra so you can keep taking chunks out of your principal, okay? But I'm not gonna go Dave Ramsey on you. This is just the way it works. Anyway, what does this look like? So let's say, why is this important? Well, it's important because if young kids can't afford homes and they're really struggling, well, if you took out a 50-year loan instead of a 30-year loan, well, it would reduce the cost. It would reduce the expense. It would make it more affordable. So that is a good thing. The problem, though, is it's a dirty trap. It's kind of what it is. It's a trap. It's not good because let's look at it here. So if you were to take out a $400,000 loan at a 7% interest rate, your monthly payments would drop from $2,660 on a 30-year to about $2,140 on a 50-year. So you've lowered your monthly payments by about $500, okay? However, the total interest paid, the total amount you're paying in interest would increase from about $560,000 to about $890,000. So you're spreading out your loan quite a bit more. Not to mention that the interest rate would probably change because a longer loan is gonna have more risk attached to it. It's gonna have a higher interest rate. But besides that, what ends up happening is you're paying way more over a period of time. You're spreading it out, but you're paying way more. And if you're trying to become financially free, that's not what you want. You want to clear out your debt as quickly as possible, right? Anyway, that's one way. Let's make housing more affordable by making it less, by lowering the monthly cost and extending the loan, right? And by the way, if you understand what you're doing and you sign up for it, then mazel tov. That's fantastic. I would really try to avoid something like that. But what are some other things you can do? What are some practical things you can do in order, as a young person, to make sure that you can thrive in this new world? I'm gonna hit you with 5 quick things here that you can take to the bank, because I don't just want to scare you and fear monger you and tell you all these terrible things. I want you to walk away with something practical. And by the way, if you enjoyed the video and you've subscribed to the channel, thank you. You've commented, great. Sign up for my newsletter. It's completely free at aiupdate.ai, aiupdate.ai. You need to subscribe, guys. It's completely free. All my best stuff, an immense amount of efforts going into it. Go to aiupdate.ai, because the more you know before everyone else knows, the better off you're gonna be. Because quite frankly, I'm shocked. People don't get it. People don't get it. I go on X and people are so surprised. I go to parties and campouts. People are so surprised at these numbers and these layoffs and what's happening. Like, if you know what's happening before other people, you're gonna have an advantage. I'm sorry to say it, but you're gonna have an advantage. All right, so what else? What can we do? The first thing you need to do as a young person is you need to learn how to use and how to execute these AI tools to solve problems for businesses. I can promise you this, every single business is looking at how they can use AI more efficiently. And as a young person, or even as an adult, if you can learn how to use these tools, if you can learn how to execute AI agents, call bots, all this stuff, you're gonna be much more well-positioned in the job market. You're gonna have a place, okay? So learn how to use the tools, okay? Submitting a resume by itself is not going to get it done. We covered this in a video a little while ago, post a link to it here. There are way too many job listings out there that are like ghost job listings that people are applying for en masse using AI agents. Submitting a resume isn't gonna get it done, okay? You're gonna need to think outside the box. You're gonna need a network. Your network is your net worth. This is something that I would consider outside of college would be, you learn by doing, you learn by relationships. Instead of taking out $50,000 in college debt, maybe you're able to take that out so that you can live and work as an intern at a company that you would really like to work at, or work underneath someone. Like, learn the skills, learn what's working, learn what the best are doing. If you can get your foot in the door there, that's fantastic. Be sharp, dress up nice, go to events, go to conferences. I promise you there are conferences, there's events near you. You could probably get in for very cheap, if not free. Shake hands, meet people, build your Rolodex. Even more valuable than that piece of paper that you get from college will be showing up, looking people in the eye and shaking their hands. Can I get an amen on that? You've got to learn how to look people in the eyes, shake hands, talk the talk, understand how AI is impacting that industry. And that's exactly what I would be doing. That's exactly what I would be doing right now. I would not be concerned with, oh, well, I see people that they get out of school with a bachelor's, they can't find a job, like, oh, well, I know what I need to do. I need to go back to school to get a master's degree. Dude, that's not what you need. Get off your butt, get dressed, look sharp, know your stuff, go to events, go to networking events, go to conferences, meet as many people as you can, and I promise you, you can find good work. If you're sharp and you know what you're doing, you're gonna find work. I promise you. I promise you. Especially if you're willing to take a little bit of a pay hit to get your foot in the door so you can really learn an industry. And after you learn the industry, well, then you have something extremely valuable that you can take to other places. You can solve problems in other ways. If I could go back 20 years, that is what I would be doing right now. At this point in my life, I'm pretty established. I've got stuff going on. I've got a wife and kids. And anyway, I still do this stuff anyways. The last thing that I think is worth considering is trade school, trade skills. I'm not gonna go into too much detail on this, but electricians, plumbers, HVAC, those jobs ain't going anywhere. Robots are not taking that job. Working with your hands is gonna be a good place to be. So listen guys, I hope you appreciate the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's really important that we talk about what's happening with unemployment, because knowing what's happening before it starts really impacting you is going to give you a leg up on the competition. And if you're watching this channel, if you're investing your time, investing in yourself, then you should have a leg up on the competition, because you're investing in yourself, your community, your family. Guys, we're going to remain relevant, respected, financially free. Smash the like button. I'll hit you with a fresh video tomorrow. In the meantime, watch yesterday's video where we talk about Bitcoin and my thoughts on Bitcoin. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Is it too late to get into Bitcoin? Is it too late? Watch the video. You'll find out. See ya. Peace.